Hi folks, and welcome to a beautiful, still spring morning on the plot. I love days like this. I've got the entire day marked out. I'm going to be here. It's about 8:30 and I'm planning on being here until about 8 o'clock. I've got Jess coming at lunchtime. She's going to bring up all the refreshments. She's going to hopefully stay for a few hours and help me with a lot of the jobs. Let me just talk you through the to-do list quickly. It's absurd. I have made a list, and that's how you know that there's a lot to do. It's very rare that I actually make lists. Normally I arrive and the things that need doing are very apparent, or I've been thinking about them for a while. But one of the first things on here is getting the mowing under control. So that's mainly on the third plot, my auntie and uncle's plot. If you've missed that, I'm a caretaker for that for summer because they're having a baby. So they're super busy. So I want to start a lot of work on the third plot today. And as well, there's loads of my climbing beans. These are flowering already, really bad sign. So I'm not holding out too much hope for them, but I've got some climbing beans that look good, some climbing beans that don't look so good. But I've got an area on the third plot to clear and hopefully plant those out. I've got loads of things to plant out as well, like this beetroot. That's getting a bit long in the tooth, and wow, there's a lot of aphids on there. So I'll do a bit of aphid control before I plant them out as well. A lot of those are really dense, so need a bit of thinning. There's some sweet peas to go out. I've got kale and stuff to pot on. This tray of brassicas in very small modules needs to just get moved on a little bit. I've got a series of my early squashes and courgettes and cucumbers and things like that that are kind of sown 3 in a pot. They all need dividing and potting on. And I really, hopefully, this is maybe a little bit ambitious, but I want to get some spuds planted on the third plot as well. Hopefully you'll be able to see that by the end. And then I've got a list of sowing. More lettuce and leeks because, well, they kind of failed actually. Winter brassicas, I really want to start. More climbing beans or dwarf beans. If I've got the seed, I really can't remember what I've got, so I need to do a seed stock take of those and hopefully get them in. Loads of other things on the May sowing list, and I want to do some more direct sowing, especially of carrots, surprise, surprise, and some spring onions and things like that. But we're going to go with the new format, which is basically me putting all the camera equipment away, not worrying about filming, getting my head down, do as much as I possibly can, and then hopefully we'll be back with a bit of a success story and I can show you all the things that we've been up to, in theory. Wish me luck. Well, hi folks, and welcome back. It's about 2:15 now, I think. I've just got sun cream in my eye. It's really painful, but oh, it's a long day. It's a very long day, and this is me after we've just had a little lunch break. Jess has just arrived. Oh, it's a slog. It's a slog today. Let me spin you around. The problem is, I've just been oh, my eye. I've just been working on the third plot throughout kind of the heat, the hottest part of the, I can't speak, the hottest part of the day, you know, like 12:30 to 1:30. It's just been absolutely baking. So I'm really glad that I wisely started the day in the greenhouse, which is now roasting. I got loads and loads done in here. It doesn't really look that much different, but I potted on all the brassicas in here, so these are now just the full-on leftovers. I'm sure I can find a few people who will be interested in those. Down here, this is brassica tray number 1, and then we've got the long-term brassica tray number 2 down here, right on the bottom, where it's kind of the cooler part of the greenhouse. And aside from that, I sowed loads and loads of new things as well. There's loads of just little bits and bobs, like this spring onion tray. I've done some more autumn leeks over here because the germination on my first lot were just atrocious, and all throughout there's little things scattered that I've remembered to sow. Then in the second greenhouse I've divided all of the squash plants, and I've done that at a really good time. All of these had kind of 2 or 3 in each of their tiny little pots, and potting them on now before they get too root bound is really good because you don't actually really damage the roots very much. They haven't filled out their pots, so they just come apart really easily. The tomatoes are still looking really healthy. I've accidentally brought a chilli into here. But down here, here's one that I actually forgot to show you recently. This is my celeriac. I've got lettuce planted on the right there, and all of my little thinned out celeriac seeds have each got their own module that hopefully they're going to do well in. Outside, one of the main things I've done is got all of those beetroot, tiny little beetroot seedlings planted on. I had a little bit of a weird thing going on with the beds here this year. They're really, really untidy. And I realised that as I've put the wood chip on, basically whenever it rains, there's quite a slope. So it's just kind of migrating. And the foxes and the starlings, the birds, they just love to play in this. So it's just causing a bit of a mess, but not too bad an issue unless I'm kind of direct sowing. And then it all gets kicked onto those tiny, tiny little seedlings. French beans just about surviving. These are my dwarf French beans. They're looking okay. They're looking like a little bit of transplant shock, but they'll get there. Here's the rest of the beetroot down here. Really happy with that. Spent a little bit of time giving the peas some TLC as well, putting in some more strings to kind of support them, especially the ones at the back here. They're just, where I've only got the support on one side, they just kind of need a little bit of tying in, and then I think as they start to climb, they should be fine. This is a bit of a random one, really, but I just found this corner of the plot for the sweet peas, and I've moved a little bamboo frame that's kind of just to get it started, and then it should start to climb up this structure. But I think this might just be quite nice on the corner. It's not really used for anything else, and my favourite, the cardboard mulch, just to keep the grass down, because this was really, really overgrown at the start. Jess has done a very flying visit today. She's had enough. She's here about 10 minutes for lunch. No, she's gone. She's just done a little bit of weeding on her bed, so she's keeping on top of that. That's the main thing. But she's bought.
Can you let me out?
I've got to let her out. Yeah. 2 seconds. The main thing is she's bought loads of supplies and a petrol can, so I can get mowing, which is going to be very necessary for the third plot, where I've spent a bit of time today already. I've started just laying down some of the black matting from the shed. It's not the super thick woven stuff, but I'm hoping it just helps. It just kind of helps mentally to know that the weeds aren't going to be growing and going crazy underneath that, you know. It's kind of temporary. I'm not planning to leave it there for any length of time. A random bit of tarp that I found as well, but just look at the grass. Look at that chair. You can't see the chair legs. I know that I'm not the tallest, but you can see this is well up to my knees. There's a lot of grass, and I'm fairly confident, fingers crossed, that my petrol mower is going to be able to go through this, and hopefully it'll be a lot of food for the compost. The bit that has been tough though is here, underneath this quite nice frame, which is where I'm thinking I'll put my climbing beans. Oh my goodness, I thought, oh, I'll just quickly turn it over, and oh, it's bindweed, isn't it? It's always bloody bindweed. So it just makes going through this so much slower, you know, like infinitely slower, because you just want to try and make sure that you're getting as many roots out as you possibly can and not just spreading it all throughout for the bindweed to just romp away. And it's always one of those things that you see a little bit of it in the bed and you think, oh, I'll be able to get that out, it shouldn't be too bad. And then when you finally start, you know, getting your eye in and looking through, you can just see it is actually all over the place. So this is very, very slow going. And it's just this bit really that I want to pay a bit of kind of close attention to, because the French beans, I'm trying to give them like a good start. You know, I don't really feel like I just want to quickly turn this over and bung them in. Thankfully, there's a few clouds in the sky because it has been baking today. I feel like the main difficulty is definitely the heat. So I'm gonna crack on and we'll see if I run out of steam or not. I feel like maybe it might happen today. Wow. Welcome back, folks. I feel like I'm on a kind of descent into just rambling chaos. I am exhausted. I really am absolutely knackered. It's now 5:30, and somehow over the last hour, it's just become increasingly warmer. It got really nice for a little while. Oh, but it's hard enough mowing just my plot and the new plot, but trying to push that petrol mower through the overgrown grass here, wow, it was a real mission, especially given the heat I'm gonna spin you around. We'll have a little look because I'm feeling, yes. I'm feeling like, yes, we're doing it. I do apologise to anyone with obsessive tendencies. There's a strip here, but this was their wildflower strip. That is why I haven't mowed this, but you might be able to tell. I haven't been able to get to every edge. I've not exactly got super nice edges on all of them just because there's quite a big difference between the height of the path and the bed, and I didn't want the mower to kind of chewing up the edge and getting all caught in the mud. But it's just looking a lot more under control now. I cannot believe how warm I am. This tall stuff at the back was asking too much of the mower in the end, and I had to take the collector off because it wasn't working. So I've not been able to collect all the grass, and I kind of didn't want to as well because there's quite a lot of bindweed about, and I, there's only so much you can do in the day, isn't there? So I just kind of gave up on collecting, but it's starting to look good. I was hoping, quite foolishly, that today I might get the spuds planted as well, and I just haven't got it in me to dig another bed. The thing is, it's quite difficult, isn't it, digging this time of year when you've got clods of grass, clods of weed, and you want to plant in. You can't really just turn it over and leave the stuff kind of to degrade. You can do that in winter, and when you come back to it in spring, it'll be lovely. But if you want to plant into it straight away, you kind of got to get the big grass clods out. I'm talking about this kind of thing, when they're this big, you turn that upside down and it's just probably going to start regrowing, to be honest. Couch grass is a real brute, but down here, look at that. Yeah, look at that as well. This is what I've just been doing for the last, God knows how long, to be honest. It's taken a while, but you can see my beans there and it's time to get them in. What I've used to dig this over is a mixture of the fork, a draw hoe as well to break up some of the big clods, and the Wolf Garden Miller as well. But the Wolf Garden Miller with really big heavy clay, it's quite wet at the moment, we've had a bit of rain, just doesn't really break it up, doesn't quite do the job. So a draw hoe, the fork, just anything I could do to kind of get this worked and usable. I'm so tired. I tell you what as well today, my hands are absolutely raw. I'm really looking forward to going home, and one of my patrons actually, Jade, I'll put a link in the description. She makes a gardener's hand butter, and when you've been working on the allotment all day, it's honestly so nice. Makes your hands feel so much better. But I'm not too hopeful about these ones. These are the cobra that were sown super early, and then I've got the cobra behind. I've got some borlotti beans I'm going to do as well, and I'm going to get these in now with the help of this bulb planter, brought very kindly with the help of my patrons. A massive thank you to all of my patrons. On days like today, they're a real slog. I don't know, it's just nice. It's really nice. It feels like that little bit of extra motivation knowing how much people enjoy watching these videos. I might just send it into exhaustion. Thank you ever so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again in the next one.